Welcome to the Republic Forum. I'm Jeff, and as usual, Tom is on a golf course enjoying himself, and when he's not doing that, he's at the beach working on his tan. But anyway, hey, listen, it's a lovely day, even though it's a little cooler, and another Thursday and another week closer to our presidential election. I got to say one thing. I'm glad I'm not in Florida. Boy, are they taking a hammering. But I've got a special guest, Mr. Jason Guidon, who's running for state senate in District 19 that covers the towns of Columbia, Franklin, Hebron, Lebanon, Ledyard, Lisbon, Marble, Montville, Norwich, and Sprague. Well, welcome, Jason.
Thank you very much.
And you're on television, so, you know.
It's a lot of towns.
It is a lot of towns, a lot of people. Yeah. So have you been getting out to meet a lot of these people?
I have met thousands.
Thousands.
Yes.
Excellent. Whatever, excited you to get into this race?
Excited me, yes. I would say what I would describe as the disaster of our state government excited me to get into the race. No one was running against my opponent. So I decided, well, if no one's going to run against her, I'm going to have to, because we can't just let the Democrats walk in unopposed.
No, and that happens in a lot of towns in this or districts in this state.
Yes.
I know Susan Johnson very seldom, has any real opposition. May Flexer faces some every now and then, but it's an uphill battle in this blue state.
It's true.
I wish they had made the color of money red, because, they seem to vote green all the time, and yet that's the color of money, and they just like to give it away. But, what
tax and spend, you mean?
Tax and spend?
Yeah.
Well, like I say all the time, we're nothing but sheep to be fleeced, and they're doing a good job at it. Taking our money. But are there any super strong things that you're really going to work, for or against that are...
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So there's three things on my top billing, if you will, as it stands right now. If it comes up that others are pressed on me by the constituents, as people call them, the population in District 19, then so be it. I'll shift. But foremost on people's mind or in the conversations is affordability, right? We are, as you said, we're being fleeced.
Oh, absolutely.
And handily this year, it seems to be just increased. I don't know if it's exponentially, but I've seen a hit. Obviously, the electric bills, whether it's Eversource or United Illuminated, there's a pass-through tax, as I call it.
Yes.
It's called public benefit. That is a shame as far as policy goes. And it's beaten us up. It basically doubled my utility bill. We've got public safety. There was a piece of legislation passed in 2020 that removed qualified immunity from the police force.
Correct.
Which effectively qualified immunity is, okay, did you do your job? Did you follow the law? Okay, we'll stick up for you.
Correct.
That's effectively what that is. And since that's gone, the police officers are vulnerable to personal lawsuits. So they could lose their home by doing their job properly, which is tragic to me. There's so many things wrong with that, and it impacts our public safety in a variety of ways. Hesitation on the job in sticky situations, interest in the actual job, who wants to put their life and life's work on the line on a daily basis while they're doing their job right. There's a few other things that hit that as well. But.
Right. We talked about that a lot back a couple of years ago when it actually happened. They can't do their jobs. And, I've been listening to this Chris Murphy. He's been out there, what's the word I want to use? Bloviating. About
Did I say lying out loud?
He does that, but about traffic deaths and this and that. But when you take that qualified immunity away from the police department, walking up to a motor vehicle that they've pulled over is a very dangerous deal, because you don't know what's in it. The other thing about that is, why would the local police do it if they write a ticket and the funds go to the state? They don't go to the town.
Sure. Sure.
Okay, so there are a lot of things wrong with what's going on there, and really, this is legislation that is not helping us at all. I guess murders are down, which is always a nice thing, but we're dealing with a lot more burglary. Out in Columbia and Hebron and a lot of the surrounding towns, a lot of car break-ins.
Interesting.
Things
Yeah.
going on like that. And of course, some of the towns you have
Yeah.
one state trooper and it can't be everywhere.
Yeah.
And some of that's my fault because I used to tell people in Willimantic, don't rob from one another. Go to a richer town if you're going to do that type of thing. I mean, what if I was Kamala Harris, I
Okay.
would say that would be equity.
Spread it out.
Spread it out,
Oh, goodness.
and things like that. But no, you're right, and that's a shame. And I'm surprised that the Democrats would endanger their constituency and their voters by being lax on crime. I'm one
Sure.
that if you kill somebody, you get the death penalty. Bing bang, you're done. Go on. Not
That's
years, not
eye
years.
for an eye sort of punishment. Okay.
Oh, well, I kind of like that. I like the direct dial.
Direct
Yeah, I've got all kinds of terms for
Mm-hmm.
all kinds of things, but it just makes sense to me. It would make people feel safer, and I really think by not supporting the police and things like that, the Democrats have really let the population down.
Yeah, they put our communities in danger in a big way.
Oh,
And
absolutely.
Whether it be the break-ins or, home break-in, grab your things, or any number of crimes, it's emboldened the criminal.
Yes.
And the pressure, the financial pressure from state legislation as well, has made more people more desperate. So in desperation, desperate times and desperate measures, and with the punishment and the policing down, people are getting away with more.
Oh, correct. And we've talked about California. If it's under $999, they don't do anything. In Connecticut, it's $499 or $500,
Right.
where nothing happens. And that's pretty much you walk down the street, you knock somebody over the head, you take $500 for them, and you go next.
Next, right? It's
Right? You do one a day. That'd be a pretty good weekly paycheck.
that it would. Tragically, it would. That is a symptom or a side effect of that poor legislation, and the combination of the poor legislation, really.
Right, and that was kind of a simple exercise there, but and hopefully absolutely ludicrous, kind of like that knockout game they were playing in New York for a while.
Oh, good Lord, right? Right.
But you talked about the EverSource.
So, affordability.
The affordability. But, the taxpayers now, we're seeing, severe affordability issues when it comes to the grocery store, every place else, Home Depot, even Walmart, they're locking stuff up.
Right, so that speaks to the crime.
Yes.
That's shoplifting.
Correct.
And that legislation that basically enabled shoplifting.
Right.
By setting a minimum.
Correct. And
reaction.
what that does is, not only does it inconvenience the average citizen, but now it adds to the cost of the products because the companies have to make these extra steps. Mm-hmm.
It likely increases insurance costs.
Oh, yeah.
I know motor vehicle and homeowner insurance has gone up for me.
Oh,
assuming it hit everybody.
Yes, it has. You're not alone there. So, and it's gone up substantially. Mm-hmm. And, I don't want to get into Florida with you, but some of the other things. I mean, we know Kathy Austin is your opponent.
She is.
And so.
Seems like she's doing my job for me. So thank you, Kathy.
You would think more people would understand what's going on, and they, I'm a big one to vote with my wallet.
Sure.
Okay, I'm kind of, I really don't care how I feel, but if I got $10, I feel pretty good. But when you take 7 away and you leave me with 3, I'm not so happy.
And then tax them on it?
Yeah, and then tax me on it. There are,
Yeah.
some of the legislation. Is there any legislation that you have in mind that you'd like to bring?
Well, I'd like to fix that police accountability bill.
Okay.
First. I would love to. We need Republicans in force in the legislative body in order to do anything that I'd love to do. As we talked about a little earlier, I'm not sidestepping, but I'm explaining a little bit about
Sure.
the situation in Connecticut in this electoral cycle. There are at least 30, probably 40 House seats that are unopposed. So Democrats get 40 right out of the gate, 30 to 40.
Yep.
That's almost a third. There's 152 seats. That's a problem.
Oh, it absolutely is.
So right there, we're behind. We need to win 60, 70% of what's available to win right now. If we could win 100, that'd be great. And we really, my goal, my hope is that we rebalance our legislative body in Hartford and actually have to argue with each other. Instead of shifting the control to Republicans and giving them the helm for however long, I'd really rather have to have the discussion and really hammer out what a good piece of legislation is.
Well, I've got to agree with you because anytime it's one party rule or it's one company with a monopoly, there are a lot of people that get left out and run over.
Right.
And
It gets sloppy.
Oh, it does. And being in local town government, we have a lot of boards. Whatever party it is only usually has a majority by one.
Right.
So
Right.
you know what? Sell me on it. All right, I'm there, to serve the citizens of the town. If you can present a really good argument or a need, and we kick it around, I'm okay with that.
Right.
I don't care who it comes from if it's a good idea, and it's something we can do, and it doesn't hurt other people.
That's the way it should be. Right.
Right. I'd like to, and this isn't something for you to do, or I'd like to see legislation that doesn't let any union get any more per year than what the COLA is for seniors. So if the seniors only get 2%, nobody else can go up any higher than that because what are you doing? You're pushing the seniors out.
Right.
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 And, I think that's very important. The other thing that I find absolutely crazy is the way we give money to all these illegal migrants.
Right. Our recent border guests.
Yeah.
Yes.
$7,000 in many instances.
And we are of the several or many border states being a sanctuary state.
Right.
And surrounded by sanctuary states.
Right.
So there's a concentration in this area that we've never seen before. We are funding that with state money.
Yep.
So I believe they're getting Medicaid and probably Medicare, so medical benefits and
food
financial
stamps.
aids and
They're
food
getting-
stamps.
right,
So
they
they're
get-
on all of the benefits that our citizens are having trouble getting themselves.
Correct.
So that increases that indebtedness, if you will. Like that's our overhead.
Oh, yeah.
So now that's going to come out of our
Savings
pockets.
or pockets. Correct.
So the producers in our society now have to forfeit more in order to support the policy and the people that benefit from the policy as well.
Well, I think now it's below 50% of the population of the people that are supporting the others.
Right.
And
That's an interesting bit of information.
Yeah, I was going to go someplace in what happens every now and then. My mind gets so far ahead of me, I forget.
I can appreciate that. So as far as things to change,
Yes.
if I had my way, I would say any state mandate on a town that has no money to back it is now optional.
Oh, that would be great.
So, because we have right now, the state said this year they were supposed to fully fund the early election process.
Mm-hmm.
So 7 days before the primary, it's a full-on staff for voting for 7
Yes.
days. This upcoming general election, 14 days. I believe Norwich had 17 people come to the last primary in the 7 days. I believe that average cost was in the $300 per person range.
Wow.
Usually it's far lower, in the $5-ish per person, as far as volume goes.
Yeah, that's still a lot to put on some of the smaller towns.
It is.
To be open to 2 weeks. I was thinking maybe 3 days when they were talking about it. Actually, I don't like it, period. I think we should have a national holiday where we vote, and that's it.
That'd be great.
Yeah, and if you can make it wonderful, and if you can't, I'm sorry, but if it's that important to you, you will make it.
Right. And I don't know that it's that cut and dry.
Well,
but
no.
I agree with the concept of national holiday.
Oh, yeah.
Or even partial, like make time. You must make time for your employees if they wish to vote to go vote.
Yep.
And if that's an hour ride back home or a late start in order to get the vote in and then get on your commute, so be it. And that at that point should be funded by reimbursement to the state. If there's a company taking a loss for that policy, I think that's a problem.
Yes.
Similar to the towns taking a loss for the state's legislation. So they say, you must do this, we will fund it. And then this year, they ran out of money. Most towns ran out of money for those early elections. Good luck to those registrars, and God bless them for trying to find volunteers and workers for the polls.
Oh,
it's hard
absolutely.
enough for one day.
Yes. Yes.
So that money ran out. ARPA money came back to the Appropriations Committee. They chose not to actually make good on that promise that they'd fund for the first year. So we didn't get any more money into the bucket.
Yeah, but that's not really new. They very seldom make good on a lot of their promises.
Part of why I'm running, yeah.
Yep, yeah. They lying is part of the business, or trying to sell people on policies and then not following through on what they offer to do. And that's one of the things that I find bothers people. They say they're going to do this and they do that, and I understand when you get there, it's not a one-man show. You've got to get other people, but a lot of the policies never ever happen, or they don't bring them forward.
So, yeah, I mean, I'm not part of the process, but I do understand that currently it's a 2-to-1 ratio in Hartford. So
Yes.
there's 2 Democrats to 1 Republican.
Right.
So good luck making an argument that actually impacts a bill to the point where it changes significantly as a Republican, or squashing it entirely and convincing that whole party that it's a bad idea and
Right.
it can't be fixed.
Well, I've been up to the LOB a lot of times for give testimony and do all this kind of thing.
Sure.
And you can watch it. And then when the Democrats do come back, they'll say, well, we'll give you 2 choices. You can have bad and you can have worse. Which one do you want?
Right.
And that's it. And you're absolutely right. I would like a balanced system, just like you mentioned, because I think that's the best way, and we get the best ideas, and we get the best people. And I think if we could get there, it would stop a lot of I'm gonna call it almost violent polarization that we're seeing right now.
Right. There's some venom that's spewed.
Oh, absolutely. Well,
Yes.
you've got the far left, wanting to attack the far right, and people that are caught in the middle are kind of, shrugging their shoulders on what's going on, and it doesn't present a pretty picture. And I've got to give you credit for putting your hat in the ring here, because you're getting into a lot of stuff that
True.
isn't necessarily fun. I mean, I've always thought it'd be fun, but I don't need my life under a microscope, and a lot of people.
That's what it becomes, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's so I've got to give you a lot of credit. I'll give you more time. You just
Sure.
You go.
So I forgot where I was going. I was in my head a little bit while you're talking, but as far as that legislative process, right?
Yes.
We do need it balanced. We have much better legislation coming out of there if we get there. 2017 we had the guardrails go on, fiscal guardrails, which probably saved the state from a nosedive, a harder nosedive than it's in right now. And that was a bipartisan but a Republican proposed bill, and I think it was budget, right? So budget constraints
Yes.
that were placed on annual budgets, and you can't do this unless you do this, and there's a lot of details that make it pretty nuanced and powerful if you follow it. I believe it was not properly followed in 2024. And Ned Lamont came out in some article and said, we are looking at a $350 million deficit hole in our budget in 2025 because of the decisions that were made on the Appropriations Committee and the budgetary process.
Oh, yeah. You know, one of the fun things we like to talk about was the lockbox. All the money that's, coming in is going to be put in a lockbox and only used for this.
Oh, right,
all,
right.
All the casino money coming in was going to be used for education
Right.
and all this stuff. And, they just lie because it ends up in the general fund and then they spend it willy-nilly on anything they would like to do. But in order for us to spend money, we've got to pay our bills. So we'll be right back. Welcome back to the Republic Forum. I'm Jeff Ians, and with me today is Jason Guido, a Republican who's running for state senate against
Kathy Austin.
Kathy Austin. And I read her signs, and it says delivering for Connecticut. Well, she's delivered a higher cost of living. For every single one of us, higher taxes. She's delivered policies that are unfunded that towns can't do anything with. When you say delivering for Connecticut, if you go to one of her events, please ask her what she's delivered, because I can't think of anything that's really helping me along. Higher mortgage rates, higher food costs, higher insurance for my home, my car, all kinds of things,
Sure.
So things like that. But, we want to switch gears here. We're gonna start talking about some family values. I think Connecticut definitely needs some help in that area. And what do you say?
Sure, it sure does.
Okay.
Yeah, I would say, again, it comes down to policy. Policy seems to have driven a wedge in the core family. I know that those who seek support from our system get more support if they are without a spouse or a partner, which I think is tragic. That automatically separates a family. And statistically speaking, a child without a father, for instance, is more inclined to commit crime. So we get back to the earlier part of the conversation where increased crime. So if we are separating families and removing the father from the equation for the most part, then the role model's gone, and then that side of discipline and conversation is removed, and this child is more apt to commit a crime. Not that they would, it just statistically speaking, that's the case. So we're looking at, I would love to invert that and say, all right, let's bring your families together. You need help? Let's get you help. Let's also, though, clean up the generational use of, let's say, welfare, food stamps, and all the support systems that are in place for a hand up rather than a hand out. We're supposed to get people on their feet, and I would say 3 to 4 years is probably a good amount of time. That might be the extent of it. I don't know. But a year to 4 seems like a good amount of time to get re-educated and back on your feet. If you have 3 kids, that's harder. It's longer. So it's nuanced in that way. But getting families together, letting them grow up together and support each other, I think is beyond valuable. I think we've done a massive disservice to our entire society, and Connecticut is one of those states that's doing it, where they're separating people by policy.
Well, I agree with you there. One of the things, we talked about law and order and things like that. The delinquent fathers that aren't there, that aren't paying, to support their child support.
Yeah.
They need to take big rocks and make little rocks if they don't make the payments. The other thing, too, is we really need to restructure the hand up, not the hand out.
Restructuring.
Because in my business, everybody knows I was a landlord. And, if you make X amount of dollars, all of a sudden you're out of the programs, and yet that X amount of dollars doesn't allow you to absorb or get the goods that you needed from the programs.
Right.
So we need to look at that to make it so that, okay, we want you to work, but you know what? Because you made an extra $1,500 or $3,000, we're not going to take you off this program. Right. The other thing too is, I always said, and I watch it in the grocery stores. We gave them the cards now, so they don't feel that people are watching, or that they know they're on this or on that. It used to be only good for certain things, and now it's good for anything. You know, they should be able to eat potato chips. Well, no. Potato chips aren't good for us. I mean, I know
Generally
we like
speaking,
them,
that's true,
but,
right.
they're not good for us.
Yeah.
You don't want to raise a 3-year-old on a bag of Cheetos.
I would not want to do that.
Right.
No.
And things like that. And so a lot of, I think, the family values, also has to be pushed by mom and dad. The churches used to do a lot of that. And we've seen an attack on the churches, not only in the state, but nationally. Drive people away from the church, where it helps give children and mom and dad a good underlying sense of values and a direction. And it also, a lot of people need to spend time talking and communicating with other people, bouncing ideas. My other half always says, you go from this end to that end, back and forth. I'm walking around the house talking to her and, things like that. And she says, are you going to settle one place? I said, well, I'm not done talking about it.
Right.
But when I'm done, we'll have settled into a place. In the meantime, all that conversation's bouncing off the walls. And,
Right.
You got to do these things. And, I've got some really good friends that, I went through a tough time when my wife passed, and they reached out and helped me and kind of steadied me there. And you need those kind of people. And,
Absolutely.
They were churchgoers, and they got me back involved with the church. And, I don't want to go too far there. I haven't got struck by lightning yet.
Okay.
When I walked through the door, so I think it's been a success. But, no, family values. The other thing, too, is the schools.
Schools need to get back to a core curriculum.
Yes.
I would say let's go with reading, writing, and arithmetic. Civics would be great. I learned on the fly how to get involved in the political atmosphere here. And I learned, how old am I? I'm going to be 50 this year. So I learned at 49 how to participate.
A youngster.
Right? So to me, that's tragic.
Yeah.
We have a lot of talent out in our population who don't know, one, you start at your town committee.
Yes.
Whether it be Republican or Democrat. And I really would love for a lot of good people to get involved in the Democrat Party. But also, yes, the conservatives come on to the Republican Party. We need to bolster that and get engagement in those committees. Those are the committees that actually choose candidates or prop them up for endorsement. They vote on those people in that committee, and then they're endorsed for candidacy, whether it be local, state, or federal.
Yeah, and you don't need to be afraid to get involved, but, every time we put up a candidate or somebody that wants to run for a different office in town, we grill them. You should.
Yeah,
we grill them. We ask a lot of questions. Do this, do that. How long have they been involved? We go back and look at their voting history. How have they voted in the past elections, and on and on.
Right. Are they engaged?
Right. Are they engaged?
Sure.
Are they paying attention? And that's important. Were they a registered Democrat the week before they wanted to run for this and that?
Right.
To watch for the infiltration.
Good point. Well, yeah, sure. There is that. There's cross infiltration, if you want to call it that, for people who want to get in there for whatever disruption reasons. And that's happened throughout Connecticut. I've talked to many Republican town committees who've had very similar problems in that way. And I think that's childish, really.
Yeah.
But, I don't know. The people who are doing it must think that we're in some war or something on a local level, which realistically, if you're trying to dismantle and disrupt the other party to make your party far more powerful in a state that already has a almost supermajority, then you're looking for a dictatorship.
Oh, yeah.
We need a constitutional republic.
Correct.
And we need it to be balanced in order to force, as I said earlier, that conversation. So the value of educating our public in how to get involved. I was going to say, I have been unaffiliated basically my whole life until, I don't even know if it was January. Let's say it was this January. a matter of changing my party to Republican was literally a matter of time at that point. It just hadn't gotten to it and didn't see a need for it. So I think 3 or 4 years earlier, I was really listing to the right and saying, you know what, the Democrat Party, as much as they sound good and seem like their messaging is compassionate and wonderful for the population, their legislation is actually really damaging to our state and our communities. So our communities are, I feel like it's a controlled demolition from a legislative policy point of action where they're saying, all right, cities, towns, you must do these things and we're not going to fund it, which means then all of our people need to fund it. And it's just crumbling. I would really rather send that money into small business support, seeding small businesses for them to maybe pay it back when they're perhaps more successful. When we have a diverse local small business community, we have a very strong foundation for a thriving community.
Well, absolutely. And, the small businesses, they employ people.
Yeah.
And hopefully they build products and supply services for, the local people and perhaps beyond, our state borders even and do things like that. So that's very important. But I was going to go back to the schools and say,
Sure.
As you were talking about reading, writing, arithmetic, and these kind of things, we've got to stop the education or this feel good. Tom and I used to go
Emotional
around.
education, yeah.
Yeah, we used to go about everybody gets a trophy. No, not everybody gets a trophy. There's only one baseball team that wins the World Series. There's only one football team that wins the whatever they call it. And
that's right. The reality of the world
is
not everybody, although it seems like policy wants to drive everyone towards, I'll take your money and give it over here because they're not as skilled or, determined to make their life better. There are so many pitfalls in life. I get it. People fall on their face. I've done it myself. And I know many good people who are very successful now who needed to rely on the system for some support at some point in their life, right? It's very important. It helps our society in a very big way. The school system, I would say we need to get recess going, let our kids run around again. They're not all nuts.
Absolutely.
They just are anxious and sort of built up, pent up energy. Make them run around. Get them to run around.
Oh, absolutely.
So I hit civics, took us off track, so that was my fault. And then we hit history. That would be good. Real history. That would be great.
Yes. Not rewritten history.
Not which the victor writes the history books.
This is true.
Who knows what the truth is? Those core things, that's roughly five subjects. I'd love to bring home ec back. I learned how to sew in middle school.
Yes.
And how to cook as well. And perhaps balancing a checkbook. We don't need to live in this debt world, even though our government seems to think that that's the way to go.
Well, you talk about living in debt. A lot of people, it's all credit cards now. There's no cash. You've got an electric vehicle and things like this, and pretty soon the government's going to control everything. If they don't like you, they'll shut your bank account down because it's that simple. You don't have cash in your pocket anymore.
We don't have the infrastructure for electric vehicles.
Well, that too, but they don't want you to leave Florida. They just shut the grid down. You're not going that far.
Sure. I mean, they did shut down the gas stations with a 100-mile range, which you should get 300 to 400 miles on a tank of gas.
Oh, easy.
So as far as an economy goes, I would really love our economy to go back towards consumer-driven economy.
Oh,
which
absolutely.
means don't force a particular product down the throats of our society.
There you go.
Meaning electric vehicles. Let it run its course naturally. And it seems like the natural course for electric vehicles right now is the trash can. The infrastructure's not there. The range is not there. If you want it, sure, city driving, that would be quiet, clean in the city as far as the resources that are required to actually create the batteries and actually the embodied energy in the vehicle, the weight of the vehicle, which is, I don't know if it's double, but it's close to double a normal vehicle. So you're looking at more wear and tear on your infrastructure.
Oh, absolutely.
Bridges and roads are going to get ripped up.
Well,
more tire material as well.
My suggestion there is we push the hybrid, not the totally electric.
Yeah, sure.
I think the hybrid's if we're going to go that way, I think that's a much more reasonable way to go.
It is.
But you know, I'm going to keep going back to the schools. We've really got to do something about the way education is taught. You know, I'm going to say the political slant on it, where everybody needs to, you know, feel good, this, that, and the other thing.
Right.
I mean, we're making concessions for things in schools now that are, I'm going to say, absolutely ludicrous.
I'll agree with that.
You know, and it does. It affects the other students and things like that. And, you know, whether they want to play this game for a little bit or not, we've talked about it. But, you know, they should be going through some kind of analysis to find out what the problem is. You know,
The core problem?
Yeah,
you mean
the core
with
problems
particular individuals or with the system?
For the particular individual
Sure.
and also the system.
Sure.
You know, there are issues going on with the system that I'm sure a lot of parents aren't happy with. And
That's true.
And a lot of parents don't know, but they you know, they just keep seeming to vote the same people in and in. And it just befuddles me. But
There's some infuriating things that occur in our school system.
yes, and it's not teaching them.
And that's not to disparage the people who are on the receiving end of this compassionate. I assume that's the drive, right? Like this is coming from a place of, oh, we have to care for these people, and we do have to care for these people. That is of the utmost importance. We also have to honor that there are other students who are quote unquote normal, who fit in that bell curve of normal, which I didn't when I was a child, but we can talk about that. I was taken out of class for special classes.
I can probably match you.
Right. So I was taken out of, well, we'll just shift to me. So I was taken out of classes for special education, right? Like I wasn't keeping up. I needed extra help. Is it a little embarrassing? Sure, but I needed the help. Getting me the help and getting me up to speed was more valuable to me than making me feel good by keeping me in the classroom and falling behind.
Correct.
We don't need one-on-one assistance for most of the children who could just be taken out, put in a quick, you know, we'll focus on this that you're lacking, right?
Right.
And then we'll put you back into the stream. And I get it. The special education is a very broad topic.
Right.
And the depth to that as well. Like there are children who need focus all day long. And perhaps there are enough of them to create a school that does that. That might be inconvenient in Connecticut. I don't know the solutions other than let's look at it and make smart decisions for the town's budget. Perhaps the money follows the student. That might be good.
Yep.
Instead of saying, oh, hey, Franklin, you're getting the $1 million child this year. And there is apparently at least one in Connecticut that costs $1 million a year.
And that's absurd to put that on
right.
the taxpayers. It really is. You know, I don't want to put it on the insurance company and, you know, God bless that child and that family.
Yeah, right.
But, no, that doesn't work.
Community support might be the way to go. I don't really know that we want to let them fall on their face in that regard, but crowdfunding works wonders when the publicity goes with it.
Right. I look at it from a financial standpoint, and I'd like to see it no more than 2 to 3 times what we spend on the average student,
Sure.
And that be the cutoff, because it does. It becomes very unfundable for the taxpayer.
Right, and I don't know what the deal is with keeping children back for
recovery. We're a
summer school.
We're passed through now, and so we're graduating kids from high school, and it's not every high school, and it's not in every town, but we graduate some that aren't ready to graduate.
Can't read, I've heard a couple of times. Yeah.
Can't read.
Tragic.
Can't do anything but.
So that's just a conveyor belt mushing people out into society who are not functional.
It is, and now we've got to keep them or put them in school all the way up to their 22 years old, I believe it is.
Yeah, that sounds right.
And things like that. But hey, listen, tune in next week and enjoy yourselves. Take care of your neighbors, and
GuidonForSenate.com.
absolutely. Till next week. Good night and God bless.
Thanks.